everyone. Good evening. I hope you're doing well. Tonight we have a Moogle Cup showcase for you featuring Golden Shocker, and this is part of Golden Shocker's submission video, or this will be Golden Shocker's submission video for his submission for the Gaming Against Cancer Marathon, coming later next year. I am blessed tonight to be joined by Numbers and Golden Shocker. Numbers, how you doing tonight, my dog?
I am doing fantastic. Can't wait to see the showcase going on. I love watching Gold Shocker run these things and play these seeds, so it'll be a treat for everybody to get to see this.
Yeah. And Golden Shocker will be the runner, but he'll also be here with us in the broadcast booth. We'll be getting his insight, his thoughts, his thought process into what he is doing and why he does so. Golden Shocker, how are you tonight, my friend?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here, and really looking forward to this. I mean, I think this is it's a great cause. So really excited to get into it and kind of show off kind of the core game, as it exists. I think it's going to be a good showcase for everybody.
Yeah, so what we're running tonight is just a standard Moogle Cup flag set. If you're unfamiliar with the Moogle Cup, it's similar to Ultra League. There's a few little quality or ease of life adjustments, I would say. Little more stats, a little more generous with the items, a little more generous with the loot, a little more to get you to go in. But yeah, so without further ado, when you are ready, Golden Shocker, you go ahead and get started.
Good. All right, gonna go ahead and get started in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so Numbers, let me ask you this. You were a mentor in our past Moogle Cup. What are some of your thought process, the things you were looking for when you are doing a Moogle Cup flag set?
Well, what I usually try to do with this flag set is finding power right off the bat, getting that offense going. You don't have offense, you can't get your first checks done. So, and especially with a lot of the guys that I got paired up with, they were like very, very new to Worlds Collide. So not only were they learning how to like race this game, they were learning a lot of the ins and outs. So I was doing a lot as far as, teaching them, hey, this is a good place to go loot. So starting off, finding that power, finding rods. If you're starting with shock, speaking of, we got a flame shield. That's a great start. Who doesn't like a flame shield? So that's what I was always looking for these guys, so that they could have an easier start, just so they can get going.
Yeah, if you are unfamiliar with World Collide and how it works, similar to other randomizers, is that we shuffle a lot of the vanilla components of the game. We shuffle the characters' abilities. As you can see in the shop right here, we have access to elixirs, and if you've never played Final Fantasy 6 before, you don't ever buy elixirs in the shop. You find them primarily in clocks or from various bosses throughout the game. You can find anything in a shop, from a Genji Glove to an elixir to an Illumina to a bunch of Mithril Males. We randomize them, we shuffle around. A couple other things you can shuffleize or randomize are the abilities, the locations of the bosses, and the equipment pool, and so much more. So that's the gist of Worlds Collide, and as far as what we can and can't do. And our end game here is to find the requisite number of characters and espers that we need to unlock the final boss and defeat the final boss, just like you would in the vanilla game. So Golden Shocker, with all that said, what do you most enjoy about Worlds Collide? What keeps you coming back? What makes you want to share Worlds Collide with Gaming Against Cancer?
I'd say the thing that really excites me about it is just it's a different puzzle every time. Like I already just really enjoyed the vanilla game. It was one of my favorites as a kid, and I've just always enjoyed the game in general. And then this is just a new take on it, honestly, to me. And being able to kind of showcase this, and every time you kind of play the game, it's just a little bit different, just enough to kind of keep you interested, but also has a lot of that same stuff that you were always looking forward to as a kid or whatever. So just overall, it's a really fun game to me, and always enjoy showing it off for folks in the community.
And Number, same question to you as well. What do you enjoy most about Worlds Collide? What keeps you hooked? You were the longest tenured member of our community in this broadcast booth at the moment, and one of the longest tenured overall. What has brought you back over the past few years?
You know, to start out with, it was just how this game was put together. It's so smooth. It's so different than other randomizers in my mind. It's very, very clean, and and like Golden said, it's different every time. It's a puzzle every time. But honestly, one of the real things that really keeps me coming back is our community. Our community is fantastic. Everybody, I'm in a lot of other communities too, as far as randomizers and games in general. You hear a lot of bickering back and forth about little silly things, and you're like, wow, but you don't see that in Worlds Collide. You see people wanting to help each other, and you don't see anybody bashing anybody. And I think the game is amazing, but the community is even more amazing.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And one of the things that I think the primary difference, and this is also more a testament to Final Fantasy VI, the game, is that it has a very robust cast. There's 14 characters altogether. If you play the vanilla game, you've probably at least found, 10, 11, 12 of those. A couple of those are really hard to find. One of them you can actually miss out on forever if you don't wait for them. And the game doesn't really give you any clues that was what you had to do. I remember, I used to rent Final Fantasy 3 from the grocery store by my house, and I remember one time, I went back to rent it, and somebody had a save file on there in the World of Ruin, and they had Shadow, and I was like, what the heck? What's going on here? How did they get this guy? And this is like, in 95, 96 before the internet was invented, and it just absolutely blew my mind that he made it off the floating continent somehow. But anywho, going back to how this differs from various other randomizers is that we take that large ensemble cast, 14 total characters, and we revolve progress, we gate progress throughout the world based on those characters. So in other randomizers, you may have key items, or in the, Zelda type randomizers, you may not, if you don't have the right gloves, you can't enter the right dungeon, because in the vanilla game, that's what you needed. And the logic in those type of games, will allow you to get those items as you go through. In Worlds Collide, what we do, Realm gives us access to 2 checks. Saving gives us access to 5 checks. Strago 3, plus there's a couple, always available checks that are not, character-centric. And as we work our way through those checks, those miniature story events that revolve around those characters, we will find more characters, and eventually more espers as well, because espers were a huge part of the vanilla Final Fantasy 6, and especially the first half. But as we find those, we will gather the requirements we need to defeat the final boss. So what Golden Shocker is doing right now is what most Worlds Collide, seeds start off. We gotta find some money, we gotta find some loot, we find some equipment. So Golden Shocker, what all have you found so far that's caught your eye?
I have a flame shield, and that's about it. It's actually been a pretty dry start, relative to maybe a typical seed, but I got a few things that will at least help me get started. The Gradius was the other kind of big thing that I noticed, that was pretty decent.
Yeah. Looks like we're heading on over to Zen. Going back to an aspect of the vanilla game that we randomized. You can buy an esper from this little fellow that's hiding around in the forest. Typically, that esper is more expensive in this world and cheaper in the other. What we've done as World Collide is we've taken that price. It can be anything from 1 to 65,000 GP, and it can be either or in either world. It can be cheaper, it can be more expensive. If you are really lucky and blessed, it can be exactly the same price. But, ooh, Super Balls.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain about that.
Numbers, what's so nice about Super Balls?
I love Super Bowls. They're so amazing, but they can also just ruin you because you can. Now, correct me or tell me. In the Moogle Cup, you can buy them still, right? Or did you change that?
Yes, you can. In some other flag sets, we remove access to Super Balls, at least from that. They cannot appear in the item shops. But in the Moogle Cup, which what we are playing today, they are there. They're out in the world, and they are one of those things that can really break a seed open for you. If you're unfamiliar with the Super Ball, what it does is it just does basically a random amount of damage between 256. I think the cap is 8,000 something. So when you're at level 3, if you were to use the attack command right now, you would do 20 damage, right? But the ability to be able to do thousands of damage with the consumable is just so game-changing and really overpowered over the levels that we currently are.
If you go back to whenever, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whenever I started, Super Balls were what you found. You
Yeah.
looked for those. That's what you wanted. And the first things you were doing is you were finding a free esper, whether it was Zen Thief, a free check, wherever it may be. You find that, and you're going to find a dragon. That's what you're doing first. That's just how it was. And everybody played by that same, I guess you could say, meta almost. Just that was the same goal everybody was looking for. And then they took Super Balls away from us, and then we started looking for rods. But that's how OP Super Balls could be early game. They really die off, probably around level 10, 12, maybe 15. But because then it becomes so random about, am I going to get 256 or am I going to get 8,000? So you can't, if you're wanting to go fast, you can't rely on that randomness. Even though this is a randomizer and we love randomizers, but it's not good for us. We want more steady as you get farther into the season. Early, it's not bad, but late, you got to start having more steady.
Yeah, Gold Sucker, now that you've found those Super Balls and we just explained how wonderful they are, what are we gonna do with those Super Balls?
I think we're gonna go see if how Opera Dragon's doing today.
Yeah, we're gonna go pay him a visit, say hi to our good old friend, the Opera Dragon. Well, actually, it may not be the Opera Dragon. Remember, we can shuffle bosses, and we also shuffle the 8 legendary dragons. You can't see me right now, but I'm making air quotes when I say legendary because the fact that, as numbers mentioned, that dragons were so subtly targeted when runners found Super Balls. Dragons are great in that they give huge experience, they give a lot of ability points, and they are not very scary. Some are scarier than others, but dragons are generally big pushovers, and we're going to take advantage of that here, drop some balls on one's head, and get a bunch of ability points and learn some spells.
That didn't go well.
Oh no.
So, Golden, I got a question for you. I saw that one of your espers had Ultima on it. Now, in Ultros League, it's 254 mana points for us to use Ultima. But here, it varies if I'm right. So I didn't see what it was, how much it was going to cost to cast Ultima. But so, what's your ideas on Ultima? Is it worth the time that it takes to cast that if you're wanting to go fast?
I'd say it's usually worth it. So, like, what you're really looking for in that situation is just as much, I don't know what the best way to phrase it would be, but I guess you're hoping to just get, like, a clean start so that you can take advantage of Ultima. So, a few of the, like, main things that you're looking for are just, like, enough MP to be able to cast it, be able to get out of, like, a starting level. So I'm going to take a few grind fights here just to see if I can get something started. And then I'm probably going to go right back to that Opera House Dragon.
Yeah, I would say that if you've ever played a game like Final Fantasy 14 Online or Diablo 2, 3, 4, the various iterations, you're probably familiar with a concept called DPS, which is damage per second. While the big blue bubble does a very large number, it does take quite a bit of time. So when you compare that to some of the other spells or abilities that you have in the game that are much faster action, which can't produce quite as consistently of a large of a number, but still, with the right setup, you can get a very reliable source of damage going. That DPS that doesn't show up on your screen, that you can let it look in your head a little bit, starts to favor other activities besides Ultima. Couple grind fights, couple spells learned. You feeling pretty good after those two, or are you gonna find one more?
I think one more. And I'm pretty happy with the one I found.
That one's not bad either.
No, this one's not bad at all. This one is a little, may take a little longer this time. Now, Realm, just controlled. In the middle of the game, she has access to sketch, and actually she has access to control as well with the right equipment. But anywho, that's part of the randomizers and the ability shuffling that we mentioned. It's just Strago and Realm aren't doing the best example of it, but we do have that Strago with tools, which normally his brother has. Or excuse me, Saving with tools, which normally his brother has.
That's one of the things that's also really fun about this randomizer that I meant to catch on a little bit earlier is that a lot of the original elements of the game are still in it, as far as knowing who can be controlled, who's weak to fire, who's weak. I mean, just a prime example. Look at Dullahan. Dullahan. We all, whenever we first played this, we hit that guy with ice, and we're like, why is he not dying? Why is he absorbing this? And it's still like this in multiplied. So we keep a lot of those elements. So even though this is randomized, it still has a lot of the same feel as what it was when we were kids playing this game.
Now you mentioned a lot of those, elements like boss weaknesses and things like that. I got a question for you, Golden Shocker. So, how do we account for the HP totals, the stats, the things like that for the monsters and enemies we are encountering?
Yeah, so as part of the game, and it's configurable through the when you start the seed, but basically there's a way to adjust scaling. So there's scaling based on how many characters or espers or dragons in this case, and that's the way that scaling is adjusted. That controls the difficulty of the enemies that we're fighting here. So that's the, that's the thing that really, as you're playing this game, you're kind of paying attention to is, how difficult certain enemies are at some point in time. So now that I have a few more levels, going in to do the Opera House Dragon is not going to be as big of a challenge as maybe the previous time, because I'm stronger than he is at this point.
That first time we were trying to, bake on, we're Super Wall's doing the heavy lifting for us, but unfortunately, when you're level 3, you can't really survive an AoE attack unless you can absorb it. And because we only have access to a flame shield, we didn't have any Gaia gears or anything, paladin shield that could negate the earth attack that we ate. There's nothing we can do about it. It's just gonna kill us. But now that we got some levels, we can survive enough to get some pulls off and take care of business, if you will.
And we already have access to Ultima. I mean, that's something else. You don't see that in vanilla. You don't have access to Ultima. 15 minutes into the game. So that's another reason why this makes it so fun. You can have some powerful stuff. 10, 15 minutes into the game.
Yeah, it kind of worked out getting that box set fight, because that's where a lot of the magic points came from.
Alright, so we got a dragon under our belt. We've learned a few spells. We got a high tier item for our reward. As we work through the various checks that we're about to start doing now, we do have 3 things that we can receive for most checks. We can either receive a character, we can receive an esper, or a high tier item. There will be a few spots throughout the game that can only be an esper or an item, or can only be a character or esper. We'll go over a few of those as we come across them. But this exact one is what we call peekable. So in the vanilla game, you come here to Esper Mount, and Realm kind of, sneaks away because she wants to tag along and fill a port or whatever. You can see her running around at the various spots as you progress through the cave. In Worlds Collide, we've replaced that Realm sprite with whatever the reward is here, and in this case, it is Edgar. So if we were to come here and it's a character, we'll see that character sprite running back and forth. If it was an esper or an item, we would see a non-playable character sprite, such as like an imp robot or a ghost or imperial soldier or something else.
And also something else to mention here, as you notice, Golden Shocker just got in a random counter. Also with Worlds Collide, so you can avoid those all characters with Moogle Charm, and that way, anywhere you go, any character with Moogle Charm will keep you from having to run into random encounters.
And we are taking care of business with Narapa. Now we have access to Edgar, so Edgar gives us access to a few other checks. Oh my goodness, that was a sword check, Edgar. That's a good looking Edgar, I'll tell you what. But Edgar's 3 checks that just opened up for us are the Ancient Castle, the Figaro Throne, where you find him in the opening minutes of the vanilla game, and we also get access to the engine room, which is where you fight the tentacles when he is technically Gerard, cosplaying as Edgar. So with all that, Golden Shocker, are you going to go chase some Edgar checks, or are you going to keep working your way through the checks in this part of the world?
I was thinking saving checks here, so I'm looking at Barren Falls, Imperial Camp. Just a few kind of quick checks that I can kind of knock out just to get myself some espers. So right now, I think the thing that I'm really looking for is some espers to get myself bigger stat boosts.
So we're fighting some fishes in the vanilla spot. That happens from time to time, but you know. This Piranha / Rizzo Pass fight is nothing has changed from the vanilla game, save for the character and ability scaling. The mechanics work the exact same. These fishes appear on the screen. They don't really do anything. Sometimes they hurt if you don't really have any armor going on. But after a certain amount of time expires, the purple guy will show up, the big bad purple guy, and then we can take him down and the fight is clear.
Tell you what, I actually wiped out some of these guys in Final Cup with Kefka's Tower the other day. It was a low point in my life.
Yeah, it happens from time to time. Looks like the Golden Shocker on your end, did your emulator freeze, or is things still going okay?
I think I'm okay.
All right, I think my BLC froze, so let me restart it. Bear with us one moment.
So Golden Shocker, we're at Esper Mountain right now, or at Baron's Fall right now. What's your plan to do next? What about after that?
So it really depends on what I'm getting. So I'm really looking for what espers I'm getting or what abilities I'm getting. So I just learned, or I just got Ramu, the esper, which is good little thing to have. I think with that in hand, and it has Ice 3 on it, which is really helpful. I think I do want to take a few more grind fights, so I'm going to go to Imperial Camp. And then from there, I should be able to... So the other thing that I really want to do, and what I'm starting to think about, is how am I going to configure my final party? I know it's pretty early into the game, but you start thinking about, okay, well, what do I have for Final Kefka? So I have Ultima with Realm. What I don't really have right now is a big sword. So I have Edgar that's going to be pretty strong, but I'd like to get him a nice weapon before it's all said and done here. So I'm looking for opportunities to get that.
Alright, we are officially back up, ready to go. So you mentioned a big weapon for Edgar. What are some of those big weapons that you're looking for?
So an Illumina or a Ragnarok, a few weapons that you wouldn't necessarily see in the vanilla game, or at least not easily see, but they're invaluable here in Worlds Collide. Also, there's things like Atma weapons or Valiant knives. Just, some of the special weapons that really could break a character if you have the right luck.
Numbers, what is your favorite physical weapon in Final Fantasy VI?
It is 100% a mix between either a V-knife or an Atma weapon. And that really comes down to what defensive items I have as well. If I've got Snow Muffler that I can put on Ed and an Atma weapon and let's just say we have an HPS regardless, I'm probably going to go with Atma weapon because it's easier to heal somebody than to keep them really low and not have them die. So even though a V-knife, I feel like for the most part whenever I'm using a V-knife, it always seems like it does a lot more damage than the Atma weapon. But the main reason why I like those is because they have defense ignoring abilities with it, so or attributes, I should say, and that's one of the reasons why I like those.
Golden Shocker, what is your favorite weapon in Final Fantasy VI?
I would say, I mean, it's hard to pick just one, but I mean, Illumina is probably the absolute go-to, just because it's the ability to do full damage from the back row, as well as the MP crit ability. So every time you swing, as long as you have MP in your character, it'll do a critical attack, which is a really helpful thing. But there are times where maybe a good Atma weapon could really change the game. So I'd say I had to pick one, Illumina, but Atma weapon's close behind.
I'm gonna throw you guys an unexpected answer for my answer to that said question. My favorite weapon in Final Fantasy VI is the Tempest. And the reason for that is the Tempest has the highest DPS possible output of any ability or weapon when you get the exact right setup, and you maybe spent a little too much time than you should, any human should, pumping a magic power plus esper into Cyan. But it is technically possible with a Genji Glove offering and dual Tempest setup to do that is the highest DPS you can do, as long as whatever you're fighting cannot absorb wind. And you can take out all of Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 4 Final Kefka in one turn with that setup.
Pretty fancy.
I'm not gonna lie, that is like Tempest is fun, and I'll actually use that early on in a seed whenever I'm needing an AoE attack. Say I'm just hurting for anything, but I happen to come up with an offering somewhere in a Tempest, or even if I don't have an offering, I'll still throw a Tempest, especially like on Terra and earrings. It does pretty good for an AoE tag, especially if you're going through trench or something like that, and you really don't have anything else to work with yet.
Alright, pop quiz, guys. There are 2 Tempests you can find in the vanilla Final Fantasy VI. Where do you find them?
In chest.
You find one in the chest. Can you at least give me the location?
Actually, I can't. I'm not going to lie. My knowledge on what vanilla chests are is very limited for this game, because I've been playing the randomizer so long. I couldn't tell you what the original chests are now.
All right, Golden Shocker, you gonna bell numbers out before I go over the answer?
I got nothing for you.
All right. You guys are not Tempest enthusiasts. It's obvious, but you find one in the sealed gate, and the other one you have to steal from number 128.
There you go.
There you go.
There's your fact for today.
The one you steal from number 128 is easily missable. But there's only 2 that you can get. Because if you don't take lock with you, oh, never mind. You do have to take lock. Excuse me. Yeah. But if you don't steal from them, because your party's 3 out of 3 members in that fight, some people don't bother with it.
So, Gold, now that you just found an offering and an Atma, are you already thinking, hey, there's in-game offense for Ed, or are you thinking other things?
No, that's absolutely where my mind went. Is basically I have an Edgar with a Hyper Wrist, which is a pretty good boost for physical damage, and then Atma weapon offering, and then with scaling and the levels that I get, I think Edgar is going to be one of the top characters I have in this party.
Are you going to see if any other of your characters, probably in particularly Sabin, if they can wear that Atma weapon, and if they can, would you consider switching it up?
Potentially. I guess it just depends on who can wear it. I know that Edgar is a natural user of Atma weapons, so that's kind of the
rationale there.
Yeah, that's the kind of default thing that I would go to think about there.
Yeah, one of the things about Sabin is that Sabin has very, very high vigor, but as you can see from that little snippet into the item pool, that Sabin has very crappy natural, vanilla equipment that he can wear. The claws he gets are not very, very powerful, even the better ones. Some of them make for a nice stat boost, but nevertheless. But in Worlds Collide, in this particular flag set, we have a 1 in 3 chance to wear anything in the game that we cannot regularly wear. It's just unfortunate there that Sabin couldn't wear that Atma, because he'd be the ideal user with his high vigor.
Yeah, physical damage is influenced by your vigor stat. So if you have a character with high vigor, the best thing that you could do is start putting some of the big weapons on that person. So just like you would expect, Saban bodybuilder, he's going out there and he has a high vigor stat, and then you have someone like Realm who's kind of obviously on the magic path, for lack of a better term. So yeah, there are certain things that even within the randomizer, there's a band of just normal expectations for each character in terms of are they more magic oriented versus physical oriented.
Yeah, because we take in throughout Final Fantasy VI as your characters level, they don't gain stats unless you have a stat boosting Esper equipped to them. So if you never put a Magic plus Esper on Realm, she has the highest magic power in the game, but if you never give her a Magic plus Esper, within Worlds Collide, in this particular flag set, we shuffle those values between 85 and 125% of that value. Or excuse me, 100 to 140%. So they're only going in this particular flag set, it's only going to be higher than her vanilla total. So a lot of those, I guess character builds kind of translate. Realm, Terra, Celeste are great magic users in the vanilla game. They are also great magic users in the randomizer.
So, Glue, I got a question for you now. So, as you see, we're about to be 6-4 on characters, or on our requirements. So, now, would you rather have a high Esper count early or a high character count early, knowing what you need to find for later on in the seed?
You always want to have more characters, or come across more characters before you find Espers. Just because the more characters you have, the more access to checks you have. So on the left side of your screen, that is Golden Shocker's tracker. We did one of Strago's checks. We have 2 other Strago's checks we have access to. And to put it as nice as I possibly can, those 2 remaining checks suck. They're slow, they're long, they're on the part of the map there's nothing really down there. The hiding cave is just a big RNG fest, and even if you're blessed, you still feel bad about it. And then Burning House is just so many fights, and it's so long, and you get to all the end, and you come across a tough boss that you can't beat, then it's really backbreaking. So it's just so much better to have more characters, so you can kind of cherry pick the checks that you are doing. Because there's 27 Espers in the game and 14 characters. If you have 9 Espers and 3 characters, it could be a while before you find 3 more characters. But if you have 6 characters and 3 Espers, within a matter of 15 minutes or even less, you can easily come across 6 Espers just without even having good luck.
I kind of feel the same on that end. I'm always looking for characters, and that's why and also I'm always looking for characters that have peakables whenever it comes down to this point. Just like, we've got Ghost Train that has peakable, and we have, Owser that is semi-peakable, and we have some relatively quicker checks to hit. We got some free checks as well. Well, yeah, I guess Velt is considered a free check, pretty much. We're not going to run into any type of battle that's going to be too hard that we can't handle. But we have some quick checks still, so that'll be nice also, as far as, since we need to find Espers quick, having those quick checks and equals will be nice too.
Yep, very well said. We're making our way down to Ancient Castle. This is going to be an Esper because it's glowing, plus the screen just told us. We have access to the not blue dragon behind us. Ooh, that's Fire 3. That's a nice Esper.
Yeah, not complaining.
Alright, so Golden Shocker, this is the 3rd dragon you were taking down. Do you have anything against dragons? Are you going to kick all 8? What's going on here?
I do have a problem with dragons, but also strategically in the game, in Moogle Cup, so when you kill dragons, it actually helps you increase scaling, but it doesn't make the bosses more difficult. So it's a good strategy to try to pick up dragons. Also, with that Fire 3 that I just had, it gives me an opportunity to learn that magic spell right away, which is a really big advantage. So, there's a lot of reasons why doing dragons, especially in the Moogle Cup, is it's a big benefit to the team.
Yeah, as you can see, we also just got an ice shield for doing so. You get a high tier item from your high tier item pool when you kill a dragon. Plus, pretty much all the 8 dragons drop, a decent item as well. Some better than others, like the muscle belt is really useful that you get from the skull dragon. The crystal orb is the opposite of useful, but it sells for a decent amount. And all of the vanilla dragons drop their vanilla drops in this particular flag set. And worst case scenario, they sell for a decent amount of money. Alright, so we're making our way out of Ancient Castle. We're going back to the above ground world. Numbers, if you were Golden Shocker here, where would you head next?
Oh, well, I would probably start looking at those vehicles. I believe he picked up dried meat earlier. The only problem with doing that is you gotta switch out characters. That tends to be a little bit slower. So I would almost, I would almost think I'd go peak. Well, obviously we gotta do throne first. So let's see if this is a character. If this is a character, then we might be looking at one of their checks. So not a character. I think I would probably go check. Oh, I mean, I don't know that I really like any of them, but maybe Ghost Train because it's peakable. It's a little bit longer of a check, but we know what we're gonna get if we go peak it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my personal opinion, but I wouldn't say I'm as good as Golden Shocker either. So
Few are, if any, are as good as Golden Shocker. Fun fact about Golden Shocker is that he holds the record for most wins in the Ultros Underground, and he did them all consecutively. He just, had his run ended, but he had, what was it, 11 straight you said that you had won?
Yeah, it was 11 straight.
It was 11 straight. My goodness. I wasn't even convinced there had been 11 iterations of the Ultros Underground, but you had won 11 of them somehow. But anywho, so it looks like we're picking Owsers. Why are we picking Owsers here, Golden Shocker?
So the last character that I got was Go-Go. I really don't want to do that. So part of the way the randomizer works is basically a depth. So like as a seed generates, like it'll try to make sure it forces characters. So like the last character you get is the most likely place to get the next character.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to avoid doing recent character checks. So right now I was thinking avoid Gal's checks, avoid Go-Go's checks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting out of here. I don't like that fight.
Yeah,
Oh god.
This is fun fact about the Enoch fight. It is definitely not dangerous, and you should stick around and risk it.
that's definitely a fun fact. Let me tell you.
No, Enoch is those fellas are some of the more dangerous in the game. They do give fantastic experience if they don't get it, but if they get a chance to act, you are kind of in a lot of trouble, and you can get in a lot of trouble real fast.
What is that, Brain Blaster? I think it is. That's just a nightmare.
Yeah, if Golden Shocker had queued up an Ultima there to one-shot them, and they muddle his Ultima caster as he's doing so, we would be hitting the reset button right now and learning a lesson. Alright, so we do have a couple changes in Worlds Collide that we have enabled for a handful of bosses, one of which is the Rexol No Singer flag. In the vanilla game, though, Rexol, kind of goes away, and he's technically living inside one of your characters, and you got to kill that character to get him to show his face. In Worlds Collide, we don't deal with that nonsense. He stays out, he can't hide. We close the door, he's got to stay in front of us. And the reason for that is there are a number of spots Rexol can't be, to where that if he does his little zinger, that you cannot clear the fight. Because there are some instances where that maybe you only have one character and you have to fight him. And obviously you can't kill yourself if you don't have life 3 and come back. So they create a softbox situation, so we keep Rexol out in the open.
Another little tidbit is we also do that with do another thing similar with Magic Master, where he does a death counter with Ultima, which is that's probably my favorite part of this game, is that can be turned off, because I think any of us, why we went up Fanatic's Tower for Strago in the first place, we will never know. But catching Magic Master at the top there and then dying to Ultima and doing it multiple times and not really knowing why. But I think that was probably one of the most frustrating things about the vanilla game.
An experience for everyone.
Yes, it was.
All right, so we're
So, oh, go ahead, Glue.
all right, so we're paying a visit to World of Ruin South Figaro. We haven't been here yet, but we're coming here because Celeste gives us access to a little check down here in the prison. Why there is a prison down here in this guy's house, I have no idea. I thought Figaro was a peaceful nation, and not the opposite of that. So, anywho, yeah. So we got an Esper. We just need 2 more Espers now.
All right, Glue. So you asked me the question, what's your play next? What would be your next play?
Really, for the past 15 minutes or so, Golden Shocker's done a great job of circling back to his starting characters, which are more likely to be checks, or excuse me, espers, as far as the rewards for the checks. But one of them happened to be Celeste, and that's just the nature of the randomizer. But Celeste gives us access to do checks that can only be an esper or an item. 2 of which are, right back next to each other as well. And they're down in the Magitech factory, the Ifrit spot and the number 24 spot. Those can only be espers or items. We're far and away at the point now in the seed where we are power overwhelming. Not a lot of things are a threat to us while our party is fully formed. So it won't take us long if we go down there. But it looks like we're circling back to one of our starting characters checks and doing Mount Colts to maybe snag an esper.
Yeah, I think in my mind, so doing the front 2 checks of Magitech would be a good choice too. What I was hoping to do here is mitigate the odds of one of those being not an Esper, because they could be items as well. So I was hoping to find not that, but oof, that's unfortunate.
Well, I like this play as well because you come here.
Yeah, you come here, you find this guy, and nothing ever bad happens when this guy shows up on your screen.
And especially when we have no MP to use on Realm. Ew. That's alright. Ed's got this, right? Right? I think. Anyways. But I like this play as well because I think I would be going straight to Norse World of Ruin and going up the mountain and checking Tritalk after this.
Yeah, that's another good suggestion as well because Tritech can only be an esper or an item. Plus, there's none of those dragons out there that Golden Shocker's had on his radar. So we're at 3. There's 5 more. Maybe we can nudge in that direction to go on up there. I heard the Ice Dragon Golden Shocker was talking crap about your mama. I don't know how you feel about that or if that affects you personally, but I just want to throw that out there.
I mean, that's pretty rude, but you know what? I might just go pay him a visit if he's doing that.
Wow.
It's a flame shield. That's okay though.
That's our famous dead check at the end of the game that always happens whenever you're just wanting to finish it.
Alright, well, Golden Shocker is not taking the bait. He's going to the logical, the makes sense spot. I'm making air quotes. He's not going to the fun spot. That's alright. While Golden Shocker is doing this, Numbers, let me ask you this. You've been a part of the Gamers for Hope and the Gamers Against Cancer in the community for a while. You've taken part in various events and are going to be a part of the upcoming March Marathon as well. What does their cause mean to you?
Right now, it means more than I can even say. Recently, my mother was. Oh, this is a little bit harder for me to talk about. My mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, had double mastectomy, so she's went through that, and in the last few months, I found out that my brother-in-law was diagnosed with a cancer that is untreatable. It's transferred through the fluid of the spinal cord fluid, and there's just not enough study out there on anything to treat it. So he's not necessarily terminal, but they've removed like 80% of it, and they're hoping that it doesn't come back. And if it doesn't come back, he'll be great. But it's usually not a high percentage that it doesn't come back. So anybody that's putting their foot out there to fight cancer, I mean, that's why I've stepped in and tried to do so much with this. I'm helping with this stream. When as soon as I found out Golden Chocolate was doing this, I'm like, I'm in. We've got another 100% stream that we're gonna try to get going, and we've got 3 different streams going on, and then I'm even going to try to put on my own solo run of a Castlevania Symphony of the Night. So I want to do as much for this as I can, because while my brother-in-law can't be helped, but hopefully any of the money that's made that could go towards the type of research that needs to be done for the type of cancer he has, or those cancers out there that we just don't know enough about. So it's big for me. It's huge for me.
Yeah. Very well said. I personally have skin cancer, and I am fortunate enough that it hasn't come back in a while. But I'm always at risk. But I'm very fortunate in the progress and the advances in the science and the treatments or whatnot, so that when it does show up, that when I had that dermatologist appointment and it's I got bad news that it's people that have come before and the people that are still doing so, and organizations like this, like Gamers Against Cancer and Stand Up to Cancer and other things out there, that have fought, that have volunteered their time and their efforts for that type of research and awareness, that I honestly don't even think about it anymore. That it's just it comes. The only time it ever comes up in my mind, that is that when I have to schedule my appointment, or my appointment's coming up, and 50 years ago that wasn't the case. It was it was a far grimmer outlook for even the things today that we don't even pay much attention to, and that's because of organizations like Gamers Against Cancer.
Well said. Well said. I'm just glad that we can do something that we enjoy so much in order to give back in something like that. So Golden Shocker, what about you? What's your story with Gamers for Hope and fight against cancer, and what brings you to this?
Um, Me personally, it's been so. I mean, everybody has somebody they know, or me included, that has cancer or has had cancer. I just see this as such a valuable thing to be able to help an organization that actually supports those people, supports people that are going through cancer, helping deal with it. It's not a one and done thing. It's something that happens. It's a life changing event, and organizations that help people through those types of situations. I just can't say enough about how honored I am to even be involved in something like this, because it's just so important. I mean, I've had an uncle that's gone through cancer. My grandparents have gone through cancer. I mean, it affects my life, lots of ways. Some of my, people in my family have passed away from it, and unfortunately, the advances in science weren't quite there. But you know, any organization that helps kind of figure things like that out, I mean, I'm more than happy to support it, and it's through a means that I enjoy playing video games. It's just a really cool thing that I can you know support the whole thing. So just really excited to do this in general.
And we commend you for it, and we commend Gamers Against Cancer, their cause, and doing this, and allowing us to share our platform with them.
And I love Gamers for Hope in general, because not only do they do stand up against cancer, this fight against cancer, they're also do events for suicide awareness, which that's kind of a big spot in my life as well. I've had a lot of friends and family, and just mental health is so huge. So I also want to thank them for doing that stuff as well, because I think our last event was for the suicide awareness, and then this one's for Stand Up Against Cancer. So they're a wonderful foundation or organization, and yeah, again, I can't thank them enough, and you know, them helping or them putting on this event, they're doing it for free. It's not like they're making any money out of it, and that's what's amazing about it. I think we made, you know, $1,500 or something like that on the last event, so I was super excited about that. Not the Little Express event, but their big event back, I think about a year ago, maybe back in June or something like that. I can't remember exactly when, but you know, we made a little bit of change for it to go somewhere for research or whatever it may be. So it was nice that we were able to do that.
And again, the Gamers Against Cancer Marathon will be airing in March of 2025. We do have another submission coming up as well this Friday the 27th. I believe it's Friday. Yeah, I think it's Friday the 27th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. I think that's when we're
Yes,
doing
sir.
that.
I will be there for comms on that one as well.
Yep. Alright, let's get back to the action. Golden Shocker got his revenge against that Ice Dragon who said his mama was not the nicest lady in the world. We've avenged her, but unfortunately we don't have the espers we need yet. So it looks like we are heading on over to Serpent Trench. No, it looks like we are going to do the Velt check. How does the Velt check work, Numbers?
So the Velt check is we're looking for what used to be Gao. Now we will either see a sprite or another character. And we need to go in with 3 characters, no Moogle Charm, and we also need to have Dry Beam in order to throw that jerky to that sprite or that character so we can receive either our Esper or character. And the good thing about this check, it is guaranteed progression. It is always going to be either an Esper or a character. So, and also, if you notice, you're seeing a lot of the enemies that there's our sprite. So Esper, we're good to go now. We're in go mode.
Now,
So
I was going to say, you said we can see a sprite. Was there any chance we could possibly see a Pepsi here?
you know, I heard rumors that if you have the Yeti with the V knife and Dingy glove, that it can show up. But I've never seen it personally. Just saying. But anyways, so now you got me way off track. Thanks.
Oh, you're very
but-
welcome. So that was the Esper we needed. So Golden Shocker, we need one more check. Right now we're at 21 checks on the left side of your screen. That little imp robot that has the number 21 next to it is the number of checks we have done. When we have done 22 checks, we get access to something called Kefka Tower Skip. That allows us to bypass much of the walking that takes place in this final dungeon and warps us ahead close to the end to the switch spot where you take on the 3 legendary statues and the ambush guardian fight. But we do need one more check to get it. So it looks like Golden Shocker is diving into Kefka's Tower. There are 2 checks that we have quick access to. The Gold Dragon is in the middle lane, which is where Golden Shocker has put his full party. There's also the Toilet Atma, but the Toilet Atma hasn't said any bad things about any members of Golden Shocker's family. It's actually the Gold Dragon that was following the Ice Dragon's path of talking smack. So let's see what Golden Shocker does here.
And yes, he's going for the dragon. We love to see the dragons.
Yeah, that gives us a very impressive. This will give us a very impressive total of 5 dragons killed. There are 8 dragons throughout Final Fantasy VI. The 3 we didn't find or are at the Skull Dragon spot, which is in the other lane of Kefka's Tower. The Phoenix Cave Dragon, which is the red dragon. And which other one did we miss?
Mount Zozo.
This one, the Storm Dragon, the Mount Zozo Dragon. So 5 out of 8 is very, very impressive.
So Golden Shocker, as we're going into the statues and our final Kefka battles. So what's your party gonna do? Like where's your thought process as far as which character is gonna do what, and explain to us why you set it up that way.
So I got a lot of Ultima early. So Straga and Realm are basically self-sufficient as they are. And I just went out on my way to learn Quick on Edgar. So I'm basically going to have Edgar with Atma offering Quick, and then I have Ultima on everybody else, and I think that's going to be good enough. Now the other thing that I did get is Doom there. So I'm going to have Insta-Death for Final Kefka, I don't think I have mute. Um, potentially, I don't.
You have Siren.
Oh, I have siren. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, all the more power to me, I guess.
Would
Yeah,
you
you-
even look for it if I hadn't said it?
I would have found out when I checked my espers in a minute.
Now you mentioned Siren and Mute. What is that going to do for you?
So, some of the some of the final Kefka fights. So there's the multiple levels, multiple tiers. So tier 1 has a enemy that's weak to insta death. So you spend a little bit of the seed looking for insta death to be able to handle that. And then there's a magic caster in the back of tier 2 that actually is you can mute, and it'll basically turn them into a extremely non-aggressive enemy. So it's definitely in your favor whenever you get the opportunity to be able to do that.
Ooh, this is
Little French vanilla here.
this is a boss. This is one of the tougher bosses in the game. Poltergeist has auto haste and he has auto shell, so a lot of magic attacks that you would think would do a decent amount of damage don't. But Ultima is not one of those type of spells that cares what you do or don't have. It ignores defense, and 9999, we are in pretty good shape here.
And Super Ball, I mean, might as well have Cells do something. She can't do anything else. Throw a Super Ball, so even, I mean, and she got, a decent goal, so can't be mad about that.
Yeah, at level 40, Poltergeist has around, give or take, 32,000 HP. So I was just trying to get enough that basically her turn would be, the third cast of Ultima there would be enough to make sure Poltergeist goes down. The scaling isn't quite that high, but still, that was the idea behind throwing the Super Bowl there.
Yeah, crack pow, we are through.
Made that look easy.
Yeah, we made that look easy, but that could have been a situation where if we didn't have access to Ultimate, we're casting, Bolt 3 or something that we could get to see just how tough that auto shell is. But nevertheless, Strago has done his job. He is through his lane, and we have 2 more to go.
And I would say that's probably your weakest party right there. So the other two, and with Poltergeist can be a handful late at this part of the game. So, but that was your weakest party. So I mean, I say it should be all right getting through the rest of this. But I've seen worse things happen. But that should.
I mean, don't wish that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
I have faith in you. I have faith.
No, I would say we've seen Magic Master, we've seen Doomgaze, and now Poltergeist. We've seen the 3 hardest bosses in the game currently. So only a little bit of spaghetti here between you and the next step.
Because the next one's down that I really would think would get some issues is maybe Goddess, but you don't have to worry about Goddess because we have Ultima, and obviously, since Edgar has the offering, that negates our love token. So even if Goddess is at the statue, he can go in quick, offering Atma, gonna be good to go. And then same thing on the right side, you have Ultima, so you're gonna be pretty good if it's Goddess. And Doom's not that hard. Doom's just annoying sometimes because he likes to freeze you, but that's about it. What would you say is your would be the next boss that you would not want to see right now?
I don't know if there is a boss I have a problem with at this point, because I mean I have my party set up such that I don't think there's like a problem boss here. Between Ultima and Atma Weapon, I should be okay. I guess the scariest thing that could exist is maybe so one of the bosses that are changed for the randomizer is the guy from Moogle Defense. What?
The Marshall
Marshall.
level fight.
Yeah. So Marshall with doors or Rogs would be the only dangerous thing that I could really think of at this point.
Oh, I hate that guy. That whenever he does that, the best character, and then there's Orogs there and Zombie Bite. Oh, that's annoying. It's so annoying.
Yeah, they're only in one location the whole vanilla game, but they rear their ugly head in this game, and sometimes they cause some real problems.
Orog and Leet River can really be a nightmare when we're locked there.
Vanilla Poltergeist down, 1 spot to go. That's going to be Realm, and Realm is pretty similar to Strago's situation, that even the tougher bosses are going to be mitigated by how powerful Ultima is.
All right, so as we're coming to Final Kefka, what's your guess on its time to finish Final Kefka, Blue?
We got a pretty good setup going. I'm gonna say we're gonna have an 8-minute Kefka fight.
We're not far off. I was gonna say 7.5. So let's see what he does.
Get there first.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah, you gotta get through this Marshall Retainer fight first.
Oh gosh, ooh. That just kind of made my skin crawl. Retainers. Oh, gravy.
I tried my best.
Nobody wants that juju.
Yeah, retainers are annoying because they use trade-off when they go down, and you can imp them, and they cannot use trade-off when they're imped. But it looks like when we were just going through Ultima, I didn't see imp in your spell, so that was actually probably the toughest thing that I can think of that could be in this spot for you. But doesn't matter. It was cranes, and the cranes are no more. So.
All right.
Alrighty, here we go. You know, this is probably the area that gets me in the most trouble coming into Final Kefka with an Ed sitting like that. You know how powerful he is, and the fact that he has an offering. I get a little greedy sometimes, and I get quaked on that first tier, and I'm just like, oh, why'd I do? And it's you got to be careful with this because tier 1 can be nasty whenever you have that offering and you're not paying attention.
Yeah, most definitely. You don't want to get reckless with your Qs because a lot of the parts of this gauntlet fight, everything about this fight is designed to whittle off your characters and catch you by surprise as you transition between tiers. Because in the vanilla game, again, you know, the ensemble casts 14 characters. You bring 12 into this dungeon if you found 12. Everything about this fight is designed to knock your characters out. And as you switch between tiers, if one of your characters is dead, they get replaced by the next person in the order that you selected. But in Worlds Collide, we don't develop more than 4 characters. We pick 4, and sometimes, heck, you even pick 1 or 2. You develop them, that's your offense, and you go with it. So you don't want to get reckless with your actions. You don't want to get caught by surprise with any counters that happen as you are acting through. Because, again, everything about this fight is designed to knock characters out and KO them. So this tier, there are 3 parts. The head up top is weak to fire. The long arm, which is no more, is susceptible to death and stone. And the short arm just punches. We're not really sure why. Maybe, you know, they forgot to put in more actions for him, but all he can do is physical attacks. Yeah, and we are casting Phantom. That gives us access to Vanish, so you can't punch what you can't see. So now we are safe for the rest of this fight. As you see all of those misses coming out, this fight is no longer a danger to us. I think this Ultima's going to do it. Nice.
The hair short.
Stand corrected. Pop quiz numbers. How much total HP does Short Arm have there?
Oh, you had to ask me that. I don't know that. Come on, I just wait for him to die.
No, Golden Soccer.
Doesn't he have? Oh, I want to say he has. Is it 23k? Or am I way off?
A little bit more. It's about 25, 26k.
Okay.
I don't know exact numbers, but it's in that range.
It's 27. 27.
27. So I was okay. So you know, considering I'm just kind of guessing, and I'm okay with that. But you know, those 4k could mean death if you're not paying attention.
Alright, so we're on to tier 2. This is where mute comes in handy when we were discussing sources of mute earlier. There are 4 parts to this tier. The tiger face, which is the little guy on the bottom. He's a tiger. Not a cool looking tiger. I've seen better tigers at the zoo. Anywho, we have the guy in the back. His name is Magic. The guy in the very front, his name is Hit. And then in the tools next to the little lady in the scarf, we have another part. So 4 total.
So I want to bring something up. Some people, it took me a while to get a grasp on this, but I think it's a very important part of this game. But if you notice, while he was casting Ultima those 2 times at the very beginning, he would just jump into the magic menu for Ed. You want to explain weight tricking for us, Blue?
Yeah. So we have the active time battle system in Final Fantasy VI, and you can see on the screen right now where we could briefly see Strago's ATB is filling up. The gist of it is that if Strago's ATB is filling up, that means the enemy's ATB that you cannot see is also filling up. So when we go into a magic menu or an item menu, our ATB is not filling. So that also means the enemy's ATB is not filling. So what we can do with that is we are letting this Strago cast tier 3. His ATB cannot start filling again until he's done casting tier 3. So what we do is we sit in the menu until he is done. That way we prevent the monster's ATB and limit the number of actions they get. And we capitalize the number of actions that we are able to take so that the fight goes a lot smoother for us.
I think it took me a solid 2 years before I really caught on to weight tricking and really using it to the ultimate advantage on that. It's such an, I think it's a very, very important part of this game, especially whenever we get to Final Kefka. Because sometimes you go into Final Kefka, but you're trying to go so fast, you might go in a little under level. You might have plenty of offense, but you're just a little under leveled, so your HP might be a little low. But that weight tricking alone can get you through this fight if you do it properly.
Yeah, the whole concept of weight tricking is revolving around limiting the number of actions your opponent takes and maximizing the number of actions that you can take. And just in short, it's like playing football. If you have the ball more times, if you have possession of the ball more times than your opponent does, you have more chances to score, and you have more chances, to put up points and win the game. Same kind of thing here. If you're limiting the number of actions they have and maximizing the number of actions you have, you're putting yourself in a better chance to be successful than they are.
I got all crazy about asking how long you thought it'd take for him to finish this. I forgot to see what time he started.
It was just a hair after 1 hour.
That's what I thought. I couldn't remember for sure, but I mean, he's gonna be right around that 8 minute. Like, gonna be close.
Golden Shocker, what's going on with this tier?
So this tier is interesting because basically while you're doing it, the boss is going to be doing a mix of AoE attacks as well as physical attacks or single target attacks. So I'm spending a lot of my time here just trying to kind of minimize how much damage I'm taking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also going to take a risk here.
No risk,
so,
no biscuit.
Yeah. So during this tier, the top boss, the one in the top left, is immune to anything except for non-elemental attacks, basically. It has 10,000 HP, so I was trying to get rid of that first because he can heal. Lady can heal. And then the man has a medio counter for the last 10,000 HP of his health out of 40,000, roughly. So I was trying to get him down under 20,000 so that Edgar could take basically his 8 swings that he just took and take him out without too much extra stress. So that was kind of what I was playing for there.
Very nicely done. We are on our way to the big golden shocker in the sky, tier 4, the final boss. Alright, so tier 4 has 62,000 total HP. The magic number here is 30k. We want to do 30,000 damage because that allows us to bypass Kefka's first action. Kefka will always do Fallen 1 on his first turn, which sets all of your character's current HP total to 1. But if you do 30,000 damage, you bypass that, he does something else, and that's the goal here. And that's 12 damage, right? 12k damage right there, excuse me, my goodness.
Yep, we're definitely going to bypass that.
Alright, so numbers, now that we've bypassed Fallen 1, what's next in store for us?
Well, next we got the next attack that we really have to worry about. Well, I guess because we have so much offense going, we need to worry about an ultimate counter. So if you're counting HP, that you're doing all right. But this is the next attack we need to worry about. This is our Goner charge. So during this time, he doesn't counterattack. So you want to put out all offense you can. Break shields, quick, lay that Atma weapon down. Just throw the kitchen sink at him.
Yeah,
Kefka. As much offense as you can.
Yeah, Kefka gets a bad rap. You know, he poisons Doma, he does awful things to espers, but he gives you a nice heads up that Goner is coming. And doesn't matter, Crack Pow, Golden Shocker is able to take tier 4 down before he can even get Goner fully charged. GG's, my dog.
GG's.
Very well done.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, no, that was a fun one, and getting Edgar online with offering Atma weapon at the end there with quick too. That made it a very interesting final fight. Those are always fun ones when you get them at the end.
Yeah. Very well said. Overall, Golden Shocker, you're a mentor in both our iterations of the Moogle Cup. You obviously, you're a mentor in our mentor program. You obviously enjoy teaching and explaining Final Fantasy 6 and Worlds Collides to everybody. If you had a person on the fence about joining our community right now, what would you say to him to nudge him over that line to give Worlds Collide a try?
I would say that first of all, there's no, some people see all the racing and think it's always about that. It's not about that. It's really about just enjoying the game. There's a great community of people who will just answer questions. It doesn't have to be about going an hour 8 or whatever. It's just whatever way you would like to learn about the game, however you'd like to play it, whatever your individual goals are. There's people in the community that will help you. They'll answer your questions. They'll give you help as much as you want help, or if you want to go play without any help, they'll be willing to do that too. But overall, I think it's such a great community. So many people that are happy to help out, happy to just be engaged with you. I think it's just if you ever have the opportunity, or if you're really interested, you've been thinking about it, I think it's a great thing to jump into. It's a great little way to just enjoy a game that's one of the classics and one of the great ones of all time. So it's definitely exciting and definitely recommended to anybody that might be thinking about it.
Yeah. And numbers, I'm gonna ask you one final question while we got you. Why should Golden Shocker's showcase of the Moogle Cup here be featured? Why should that be a part of the Gamers Against Cancer Marathon?
Well, the reasons why I think it should be is because this is for pretty much standard flags for a newer runner. It's more laid back. It's not really race intensive or as complicated as some of our other. And it's an easygoing. People can understand this even if they don't have much about Final Fantasy VI or the randomizer or a randomizer in general. This is very smooth compared to some of the randomizers that I see out there, and you have to have a pretty solid base about what the original game is. But also with the Moogle Cup, it gives you a lot of the advantages, like some of the commands that you'll get, shock, and the fact that we give the characters a little bit higher stat boost and things such as that. And I believe our looting and the shops are better too, right?
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why Golden Shocker picked these flags. Our community and various members will have other submissions as well, but Golden Shocker personally wanted something a little easier to explain, to be more welcoming if someone saw this for the first time and say, "Oh, that looks pretty fun. We had access to all the spells and abilities, and that's what Moogle Cup can offer as far as a flag set, and that's really what it's designed for. So let you see everything, let you play everything, and as Golden Shocker mentioned, you don't necessarily always have to race it. I personally, before I ever got into sync racing and the various community events, I would play around with various seeds and just roll different things, give myself specific abilities. I played with shock for the first time, and it was the coolest thing. You have shock for all of 2 minutes in the vanilla game. You can't even use it because all of the guardians that ambush you take 0 damage. And then Leo, spoiler alert, he doesn't make it out of Thamasa. But anywho, shock was just the coolest thing to me, and it's things like that I think are really a good sell for new players out there on the fence. So that is Golden Shocker and the Moogle Cup, their showcase / submission for Gamers Against Cancer. Golden Shocker, do you have anything come up you would like to give a shout out to before we sign off?
Nothing in particular, but just to mention it. I mean, we are wrapping up our Ultras League season. I think coming up soon is going to be kind of the the next big event. I don't think any announcements have been made yet, but some new stuff's coming up in the community here in the near future. So I'd say just be on the lookout for that. For anybody that's interested in things like we have our different little asyncs, Chupon Championship or the Ultras Underground, some different ways to just get engaged with the community. So I would just say, if you're interested, maybe look into the website or the Discord, reach out and see if there's anything that maybe piques your interest.
Yeah. And Numbers, do you have anything come up you want to give a shout out or mention to?
I really don't. Just if you get a look at this and you want to see some more of it, just jump on, find us, and we've got some more submissions that are going to be coming up as well. Hopefully, we'll get all these into the game marathon, and everybody can get to see a broad spectrum of how this game can be played, from playing a seed that's 100% to playing a seed that'll take about 45 minutes to the Moogle Cup, and it gives a very broad spectrum about how this seed can be played. And if anybody's interested and you want to see, you can always check out the website at Final Fantasy or ff6worldscollide.com. I mean, you can get on there and it gives you all kinds of different options, and you can even create your own stuff and see what you want to do with it. So it's one of the, and it's very user friendly as well. So have fun with it.
Very well said, guys. We will have another restream for everybody, but not on our channel, on RPG Limit Break tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got Physics Shebang, we got Judge Joe. They're going head to head. Physics can possibly catch Judge Joe for first place in their Elixir bracket, so can he do it? We'll find out tomorrow night. We also have Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. We have Tonic A. A couple other runners are going to run their race Monday afternoon. And then Thursday, we are going back to RPG Limit Break for... Oh, excuse me, where did they go? We got One Free Fritz. We got Taco Mage, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. RPG Limit Break. 2 Elixir A finalists. Buying for the right to move on to Mega Elixir. That's what we got coming up. As far as sync races, and then we have we have other things coming on too, but another thing I'll mention is that we have our FF6 year in review show. This year it's called the Golden Golems. We are giving out some awards. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have lots of guests. We're going to have maybe a few surprises in store for the community. And that is 8 p.m. Eastern Time, December 30th. All right, so with all that said, we thank you, Gamers Against Cancer, for checking out Golden Shocker Showcase. Thank you for having us. And then for anybody that stopped by and tuned in tonight, we thank you for coming by and hope you all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.